Hey guys, so my tackle warehouse order just came in. I'm gonna do an unboxing for you. This is most of what's in here is stuff that I typically will throw during the winter. I did get a couple of new things that I'm gonna try out. One of which is the Z-Man Finesse Shrooms Ned Rig Weedless Jig Head. I'm really looking forward to using that because I get hung up with it a lot, fishing the rocks and brush piles down here in the river. So we're going to give it a try with that and see what happens. Probably going to go fishing maybe this afternoon, I hope. It's only 17 degrees outside right now, so it may be a little bit of a challenge. But we're going to get into our unboxing here. So, looks like first up, oh yes, this is the Z-Man hula stick. This is one of the ones that I typically throw for smallmouth. I just find it works a little bit better than the TRD. It's a little thinner profile, a little bit longer, and it's got some tentacles on the back end, kind of like a tube. And we all know that smallmouth love tubes. Goodness, this stuff's cold. It literally just got delivered a few moments ago. But this is the TRD, or I'm sorry, the hula stick. You can see the tentacles there on the back end. It's just basically like a miniature Cinco. This one is Canada Crawl. It's got a lot of copper and red flake in it, which typically works really good in the river down here. All right, then we got our Finesse Shrooms jig heads. Now that I finally have a package to show you guys, so that way when you go, if you go looking for them, you'll know what to look for. This is the 1/10 ounce. This is the size that I typically will throw. I find that it has a really good fall rate with all of the plastics that I throw. Sometimes I will bump it up to a little heavier one, I'm trying to fish down in a little deeper water, or I'm wanting to work that bait a lot faster. I'll bump it up to a heavier bait, or sorry, to a heavier weight jig head. And now we have the weedless ones. These have just a wire weed guard on them. This one is 1/10 ounce also. I'll take them out of the package here in a moment and show you guys the weed guard on them. It's just a V-shaped wire weed guard is all that it is. Alright, now we're getting into the stuff I really want. We'll start with the Arkies. Now this is just a black hair jig. It's just a ball-headed finesse jig basically, but instead of having a silicone or rubber skirt, it's got a, I believe this is Bucktail. So this is awesome. I mean, these things work really, really well in the winter, because the rubber and silicone tend to get a little stiff in that cold water, and it doesn't flow really well. It doesn't have a lot of movement to it. This hair, it moves so much better. I find that these work excellent in cold water. These are 1/4 ounce though. Yeah, this one here is the 1/4 ounce. That's my typical size. Occasionally I'll bump it up a little bit, maybe to a 5/16 or a 3/8. If I'm dealing with heavy current, or I want a little faster rate of fall that I can't get with just changing out the soft plastics or port trailers. I used to throw port trailers a lot, but I've really gotten into just using the like the Zoom Super Chunk Juniors and things like that. Or I throw a lot of the Berkeley chigger crawls. The little 3-inch chigger crawl is one of the ones that I really like to throw. And occasionally I'll throw the Z-Mans. If I want that bait to really stand up off the bottom, I'll use the Z-Man because it floats and it'll keep that jig head riding upright instead of laying over onto its side. Which the hair helps out a lot with too, because the hair traps air and stuff into it, so it'll really make it want to stand up as well. And basically you just use it like you do a shaky head or a Ned rig. In the river, I typically won't let it sit on the bottom too much. I want to keep it moving, mainly just to keep from having that jig head wash down in between the rocks and get hung up. Excuse me. There's the other one. This is another one of my top colors. This is the black and orange. I really like this black and orange for smallmouth. And then I've got black and blue and stuff like that. This isn't a big, huge order, guys. But there's some baits in here that I really wanted to show you all. And I've got a couple more tips. Another black and blue jig. Got a couple more tips that I wanted to give you guys. Especially those of you that are wanting to get into making your own jigs but don't want to make the investment of buying the molds and having to deal with the lead and stuff like that. Got bobber stops as well. So one easy way to do it is just to order jig heads. Like this is the Omega Custom Tackle. This is their 1/2 ounce football head. I really like these because they have that stinger hook that it'll make your bait stand up off the bottom more and more in that defensive crawfish posture. So what I did when I first started out with making my own jigs, I would just get me my jig heads. You can really see that hook now. So when this thing's laying on the bottom, wait, my hand here. See how that hook's really standing up? And if you have your trailer on there correctly, it'll put that trailer sitting up in more of an angle, more of that defensive posture. But back to what I was saying. I would just order these jig heads here. And you can order all different, whatever brand or style you prefer. That's how I really got into making my own skipping jigs. I would order them from Greenfish Tackle is one of my absolute favorites, or the Arkies or Bass Pro Shops brand, whatever. I'd get those, and then I would buy my just packages of skirts and tie them up however I wanted. I really prefer to tie my skirts in place versus using the little rubber collar, because that rubber collar will give out before the life of the jig is done. But right here I've got some of my favorite colors that I find work really well. Uh-oh. No, that's alright. Okay. We got one bait left, and this is one that I've really been excited about because of the color of it. This is the Z-Man Hula Sticks. Again, but this one is in their what they call mud minnow, and it's just a shad profile with a dark green pumpkin back with a white belly with a little bit of salt and pepper flake in it. I was really excited about these. I typically don't buy too much of the Z-Man, and it's not that it doesn't work or anything. The problem is it works too well. I can usually on one of these baits get anywhere between 50 to 100 bass before the bait's tore up to the point where it's not usable. Most of the time, and I'll break out the jig head now, most of the time the jig head itself will break, or the bait keeper on it will break before I finish using that that soft plastic. Now, like I was saying, this is just the wire, V-shaped wire weed guard, so you can kind of position them however you want. But on the back of this jig head, there's a little barb, and that's your bait keeper to hold your. Oops, hopefully it's focusing. To hold your bait on there, your soft plastic. And then there's the weed guard, just a V-shaped weed guard there. But like I was saying, typically the weld will break on this before I get done with one of the soft plastics, assuming I don't get hung up and break the whole jig head off beforehand. But that's why we got the weedless ones now. So hopefully the sun will pop out today and I'll get to go out and do a little bit of fishing. If not, well, I've got cleaning duty on some of my hunting rifles and target rifles here, and handguns, unfortunately. So if I don't make it out on the water, you guys will know what I'm doing. Tight lines, everybody. We'll catch you next time.